Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Shelby, and I'm here with my co host, Taylor. And this is Champs Drink Champs podcast, if you didn't know.
Wow, that was quite the intro.
Welcome back. I hope everyone had a festive Halloween. I had a dead body at my house.
Yeah, I've got to hear about this.
Not at my house. Let me rephrase that. There
It
was a
was
dead
basically
body.
in your backyard, basically in your front yard.
Yeah, there was a dead body. I brought my daughter home from school. I went and picked her up because it was Halloween. And I come driving into my neighborhood around like, I don't know, 3:40.
Did you
What?
find the body?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I have something to say. We'll get to that. I come driving into my neighborhood. I go to open my garage and I see like all these cop cars like up just like a couple houses down by the trail that I always go running at. And I was like, should we drive by? And Henley's like, yeah. So we drive by and I was like, you have to look because I have to like make sure I don't crash. Like you do the looking and look and see what's going on. So we're like trying to drive by. There's like probably like 5 cop cars already and 1 ambulance. And we're like, holy crap, what's going on? And she sees like a lady sitting on like the hill and the cops are talking to her. We can't really tell what's going on. And so we're like, what is going on? Like, that's so crazy. As we come like around the corner, 2 more fire trucks are coming and we're like, what is going on? Oh, and then an ambulance. And we're like, I was like, someone maybe had a heart attack. Like they were working out. That hill sucks anyways.
It
And
does suck.
the hill like took them out and they called 911. But like, I don't know why there's so many people. I was like, that's a bit fishy. And then you see like neighbors like freaking out. Like you could see like a block up, people like already on the street. They don't even live on my street gossiping about it. And then someone gets in their razor and they're like driving around the block trying to see. And I was like, what is going on? So we make it back to my house. We tried to go back the same way that we came and we couldn't because there was so many like fire trucks and police, like more police had come at that point. There was like 8 police cars, 3 fire trucks, 2 ambulances, and then like a bunch of like crime scene people. And I was like, oh shit is going down. I was like, someone's dead for sure. And we couldn't drive down the road because it was like all blocked off. So I had to like back up, go down a different way, and then get to my house. And then when I was getting to my house, all of the like super annoying Mormon neighbors that I'm friends. Do you see this thing on my screen?
My gosh, what's going on? I just heard my Palo Santo because I was like,
That is what I was talking about. That's the thing that keeps popping up. I don't know what it is.
That's so weird.
It's this AI thing for sure. Anyways, so the neighbors that are super nosy were out on the street walking over and trying to like see what's going on. The cops are like telling them to like go back to their houses. They're like huddling at the neighbor's house that's right next to the hill. And I was like, you guys are so desperate. Like, I get it. I really want to know too. Like, I desperately want to know, but I will not ever be that person. I'll drive around, I'll see what I can do to find it out, but I will never be that person that's like sitting there like that. And like, people were like walking by, they were calling their family that lives up the street, having them come over, and they're all standing in the driveways. And then people would come out, like people would get home from work and they'd be like, what's going on? And they'd be like, oh, come here. And they'd be like waving them
Oh my
over.
God, that would totally be me. I'm
and
sorry.
Then they're like whispering to, oh my God, I would not be your friend. If you did this in front of me.
If I was at your house that night, I hella would have been like standing over by your neighbors.
Oh my gosh. If you had been that person corralling all the neighbors and calling the people to come see, I would have been like, listen, you gotta have a boundary. Like, that's too much for me. That is like the most pathetic, desperate. I get it. We all want to know, but like, give the people working some privacy. Like, you'll figure it out. It'll be on the news, something. It's not that serious. Like, I just couldn't. Anyways, I go inside. I'm like trying to see what's still going on. I'm like, dang, this is like really a thing. Eventually, I was like, oh shit, I actually have to go to the grocery store. So I was like, well, I'm driving back that other way if I can. I was able to drive that way, and it was like crime scene investigators. And I was like, oh yeah, someone's dead for sure. So I get back to my house and I'm like making grilled cheese before we go trick-or-treating, and all of a sudden I hear like a chopper, and I was like, Henley, I think the news is out there. I was like, the chopper from the news is at our house for sure. And she was like, what? So I'm like looking out the windows, I can't see anything. I go out front and the chopper's hovering above my freaking house for KSL. And I was like, oh my gosh, like some shit has really gone down, but at least I know now the news is going to report it. So then I immediately get on KSL and it's like, body found dead in the Jordan River. blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, someone actually did die. So we didn't have any answers apparently. And the article was stupid. The article
The
was very
article is so
contradicting.
dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like contradicting. It was like, oh, police responded to a bike accident and then found a dead body and they're not related. And I was like,
what? Yeah, it made no sense.
so I was like, okay, some shit's going on. They don't have no idea. They're just trying to get some details out. So I end up going to my sister's house. She works for West Jordan City. And I went there to go take my daughter to trick or treat. And I was like, dude, they found a dead body by my house. And she was like, what? So she was like, I told her I sent her the article, blah, blah, blah. She texted me last night and she says,
Oh my gosh, I'm so scared.
let me pull it up. It'll be easier. She says, I'm gonna paraphrase. I know what happened to the dude they found. I have a friend who is friends with these people and hangs out with them all the time, and it's her uncle. He's a paralyzed guy from the waist down, and he rides a hand bike and lost control and went into the water, and he couldn't get himself out and drowned. He was strapped to his bike and couldn't get out.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
I'm a skeptic a little bit because there's no freaking way he could fall into the river. The trail doesn't go on the river, first of all. There's always a field and then a fence, and you have to like jump a fence to basically get to where the river is. To get into the river? And on the bridges, they have like pretty solid railings. Like you can't just get into the water. Even if he went down the hill that's by my house, he wouldn't just like launch into that because there's a giant fence and a giant freaking bridge with railing. So I'm not understanding where he went. I mean, maybe there could have been one of the roads that are like along the river, like the gate had been opened or something and he took that. I don't really know.
Or maybe he fell in further down and the body just floated down by where your house is.
Maybe. I don't really know. But the thing I asked her, I said, okay, is he the guy that rides around in West Jordan with a dog on the back of his bike on the trailer? And she was like, I don't know. I don't know if I have seen him. He had the bike where you pedal with the hands and he lives in West Jordan. He was like 60 years old. And I was like, okay, maybe it isn't the same guy, but it could be. I was driving to get Henley and I see this guy all the time. I was pulling out of my neighborhood. I was getting onto like the busy road 90th and I was driving and I like always see this guy with this bike. He has like a pedal bike that he pedals with his hands, but it has like this trailer that he built on the back. And he always has this dog that sits on the trailer. And I saw him that day as I left my house around 3 o'clock. And I said in my head, I wonder how the fuck he gets this dog to stay on this trailer. Like, I'm so confused. Like, do you think he got this dog as a puppy? And then, like, he just trained this dog to just sit on this trailer? Like, he drives on this busy road, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting here like, it's just really cool that this guy also does this. Like, he just seems so happy, always pedaling on this bike with his dog. I had no idea he was paralyzed. He looks normal, but it makes sense because he's like pedaling with his hands. Anyways, I asked her, I said, was it this guy? And she says, I have no idea. Oh, I don't think a lot of people have pedal bikes around you though. And I was like, I know, I feel really creepy, but also like, was that his dog? And I'm feeling really weird because I feel like it was this guy because I literally left my neighborhood. That's what I said. I'm like, where's his dog? Was there a dog? Do we know if this guy has a trailer? Because I see this guy all the time. I'm always watching him on this bike. It's like a sit down, low to the ground bike. It has this trailer that he added. His dog is with him all the time. And always like, what a badass. That's so cool. But that day, I literally saw him. And then minutes later, he fucking drowns in this river right outside my front door. I'm creeped out by it.
Have you seen him since then? Like, do you see him every day or just like once or twice a week?
I usually see him when I'm like driving to get Henley from school or something. It's usually around like the same time, like 3, 4-ish.
And you haven't seen him again?
Well, I didn't go anywhere yesterday. I went today, I didn't see him. But all I'm saying is I left my house at 3. At 3:20, he died. Around 3:20. Oh no, 3:20 is when they called. They had the bike accident. So I'm thinking something.
So wait, was he the bike or was somebody a bike accident? Like the bike accident and the drowning is the same thing or they're separate things?
I think it's the same thing. I think they responded to the bike accident. Maybe someone saw him. His body. One thing I was thinking though too is
Oh
like
my
you can
God.
probably see the canal from the road, the on 90th. I'm not
Maybe somebody
entirely
saw him
sure.
fall.
Maybe someone saw him lose control and like go off. I have no idea. But if this is the same guy and I saw him minutes
Um,
before he died, I feel very, very uncomfortable. And I'm creeped out by that area right now. I almost went over today and saged it.
but you're right though. The river's not easy to get into.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, did something happen?
This makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's really weird and I'm very uncomfortable. I don't know who the lady was sitting on the hill still. There was a car when we very first like pulled up, like shit had just gone down when we got home for sure. And I was thinking maybe that was his wife that came and she like, but how they, I guess they could identify him pretty quickly if he had his wallet or something.
Yeah.
But who called the cops? Was it my neighbor? I have so many questions and I'm just really creeped out and it just makes me uncomfortable. Like, even though I know
Yeah.
it's a really sad situation and like no foul play technically, it's just
Yeah. It just
really
seems fishy
creepy.
too. Yeah.
It's just creepy to know that like someone literally just died steps away from my house.
Oh my gosh. I hate that so much.
And like now when I walk to the trail, I have to walk past where they found him.
Where did they find him? Like right where the hill
Right
is?
at the bottom of the hill where there's that like first bridge and then you
Uh-huh.
get over to the actual trail and there's like that
Uh-huh.
canal. That's where he was.
Oh.
I know, but there's no, I'm just so confused. And also really sad. Like if he
Yeah,
drowned
no,
like
it
that,
is
that makes
sad.
me feel
That's
really
really
bad.
terrible. Yeah, that is
But there
really terrible.
we need a sage over there or something. Anyways, that
Yeah.
was my Halloween. I don't
I
know what you
also have a
did.
ghost. Oh, for my Halloween, I have a ghost story for you too. But for my Halloween, Tony and I just drank champagne. We watched House of Wax and we handed out candy and it was so fun. We had a really great night. And we ate mac and cheese and chicken nuggets.
I ran into my swinger neighbor who
La la.
definitely seems like an alcoholic. She was like stumbling and was like, we had her dog gets loose.
Oh yeah, that
So
dog does get
we went
loose.
trick-or-treating at their house and Wally's like, do you remember their dog's name? I think I saw one the other day and I don't know. And I was like, no, but I saw one. I see one a lot too. Like maybe if we knew the name, we'd know if it's their dog. If it's their dog, I'll
Hmm.
help them out. And I Henley went up and trick-or-treated and the lady was like sitting there and you definitely something's up with this lady. And
Hmm.
she was like, oh, I love your costume. You look so cute. And I was like, hey, what's your dog's name? And she like immediately was so excited that someone talked to her. And she comes out and she's like, oh, it's this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, cool. We see him sometimes. Just want to know. And we're like, all right, bye. We're like leaving. And then we ran into her later trick-or-treating. She ended up switching with her husband and took her kids out. And like, she's like, so where do you guys live? And I was like, oh, we actually met when we first moved in, but I was a
You
bitch to her,
invited us
remember?
to your hot tub parties.
Yes. And like I was a total bitch to her. Like I did not want to be her friend. One time she came over and I was outside and I was just like, why are you talking to me? I didn't say that, but like my vibes were definitely giving that. And she's been like very away from me ever since then. Like she hasn't tried to talk to me, hasn't like looked my direction. She's definitely was like, okay, this bitch does not want to be my friend. So I was like, oh, we actually met when we moved in. We live right next to Aaron and Andy. And she was like, oh, okay. And I was like, all right, this bitch remembers who I am for sure. And then she got really uncomfortable. She didn't even like know what to say after that, but she was like falling over. She was like, you know, when people are standing and they're
Yeah,
swaying, she
yeah.
was doing that. And we like walked away eventually after we like were able to break. And Wally was like, do you think that she was drunk? And I was like, oh yeah, she's fucked up. So not only is she a swinger, she gets lit on Halloween.
Maybe we should be a friend minus the swinger. Just kidding.
She does have a hot tub, and I don't have one yet.
Yeah, I don't want to go to her hot tub.
I love that both of our meals on Halloween were like kid meals.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Did you
so
guys
good.
have a lot of trick-or-treaters?
We actually did. I was worried I was going to run out of candy,
So
but
did
I
we.
didn't. Yeah,
I
I
still
we
have
had like
candy.
3 pieces of candy left. So, but yeah, we had a lot. And the kids had actually like really cute costumes. I feel like people were very creative with their costumes this year.
People are getting really into Halloween. I think I saw
Mm-hmm.
that Utah is one of the like spookiest states. on like a random site, so I believe it, obviously.
Mm.
Then also I can't remember who had posted it. Someone posted like the numbers that the US spends on Halloween, and it's like insane. I think
I
people just
mean,
really are going out there. Like honestly,
good.
costumes are expensive though. Like
They are.
think about if you have multiple children. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, they are.
I
So
had
I have a
freaking
ghost
costumes for
story.
buckets. Did you have to wear hand-me-downs?
Yeah. Or no, I didn't because I was the oldest. But my
Oh yeah.
sisters wore hand-me-downs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a fucking like clown from the 1970s one time because it was from my aunts and uncles that my grandma still had. I have a picture. I should find it. I'm gonna post it actually. I've got to find this. I know exactly where it is in my scrapbook. And I had like an afro wig on and everything. And it is like the oldest. I remember pulling it out and it smelled old. It smelled like old people. And I wore that as a costume when I was like Henley's age. So you're welcome, Henley, that your mom doesn't make you do that. Tell me your ghost story now.
Okay, so it was last week. It was before Halloween. And like, you guys know me and my weird witchy stuff. The veil is thinner around Halloween, and spirits can easily like go to and fro around
Time out.
Halloween.
Can we give it a different name? The veil really gives me church PTSD. Is there another word we can use?
The worlds,
The veil just sounds like the churchiest thing, and it makes me think you're about to talk about the celestial kingdom.
let's just say that like spirits can travel between wherever they are to Earth
What
a
do they
lot
call it on
easier.
Hercules? Hercules has to have a name for it.
I don't
I'll
know
watch it.
actually.
I'll watch
Yeah.
it and see. I
Okay.
like that movie.
So anyways, Tony's coworker, one of his coworkers gets to work like really early. He's like a big morning person. And he got to work like really early, like 6:30, 6:45-ish. And he texts Tony at it was probably like 7:30. And he was like, "Hey, did you come in the office this morning already?" And Tony's like, "No, I'm still at home. I'm just making my coffee, then I'll head in." And he was like, "Oh." And he's like, "I saw someone walk into your office." And Tony's like, "What?" And he's like, "Okay, well, I'll be there in like 5 minutes." So, anyways, he gets home and I was like, I have to know what happened to this. So his coworker was like the only one in the office because it was so early. And he saw a full-on figure walk into Tony's office, shut the door, and then like the door didn't open again. So he thought like Tony was on like a meeting or on like a phone call or something. So he like didn't like interrupt him, but then he saw that the light was off. So he was like, "What the heck?" So like he walked up to the door and like Tony has like a little window thing and he looked in there and there was nobody in there. But he like straight up saw like a full figure walk into his office and shut the door.
First of all, I would not be peeping in that window, Tom. I would be like, I'm gonna go work from the fucking parking lot. I would not even be messing with it. If Tony said
No,
he
that's
wasn't there,
uh-huh.
I
That's what I
wouldn't
said.
be
I'm like,
looking.
he stayed and he's like, yeah, he was creeped out, but like he just went and sat back down. I was like, I would have left and been like, I'm working from home today.
Okay, but also like, so he knew that Tony wasn't there. He watched someone go in there and the light was off, and he still was like, let me peep in this window.
No, because he saw the figure walk in and shut the door. And then he thought like, oh, Tony, was on a meeting or he's on a phone call. And so then like he noticed that the light was off, but then he still thought like he was in there on a meeting or something. So that's why he texted him and was like, "Hey, did you come into the office already?" And Tony like immediately responded and was like, "No, I'm just making my coffee. Then I'll be in. I'll be in like 5-10 minutes." And he's like, "Oh." And then then he walked up to the door to see like if somebody was in his office and he like looked through the window and there was nobody there.
Yeah, I still wouldn't be looking if Tony said no. I'd be like, there's a
Good
fucking
luck.
murderer. Like, no,
Isn't
no.
that creepy?
Does Tony feel like he has a ghost in his office?
No, he wasn't even that scared about it. And I was like, okay. Yeah,
I don't like it.
I know. I don't either. I do not either.
It makes me feel like I need to pee or something.
I know.
Ugh.
Anyways, that's my ghost story.
Tony doesn't feel like a spirit followed him home. Nothing. He feels fine.
No, he feels totally fine. He was like, I mean, I was a little creeped out, but I was fine. I was like, okay, whatever you say.
Not for
I'd
me. Don't
be,
sign me up.
yeah, I'd be saging that office and freaking burning it.
Yeah, I also just like don't feel like I'm active. That's a lie. I was gonna say I don't feel like I'm actively like trying to search for ghosts or like if something feels fishy, trying to investigate it. I for sure am that person. Not if I thought it was a ghost though. Like we went to the haunted house that's like up the street to see if that's where my ghost came from.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think
And then
I
we
don't
figured
know.
out it was a modern polygamous playground.
Like when I had a ghost and I for sure knew I had a ghost, I wasn't trying to go find him at all. I
Yeah.
didn't. Mm-mm. Nope. I still hate that ghost. I'm so glad he's gone. Bless up. Bless up. Um, wow. I'm feeling like, when your mouth gets like dry and uncomfortable and like you kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel gross after these stories. That's how I'm feeling right now.
I know. I'm like so disturbed by it. And Tony is just like, whatever.
But like,
I don't
are
get
other
it.
people, Wally doesn't really believe in ghosts. He doesn't think we had a ghost. He believes in like things like this, but he doesn't believe that we had one because I don't remember what we were talking about the other night. And he was basically saying that he believes in like spirits and like things like that, visiting and all this stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
is like, but you didn't believe we had a ghost? And he was like, oh yeah, I believe in this. I just don't believe we had one. I think you're just crazy. And I'm like, so when it's
I
actually
think
happening to you, you're like
just
choosing to
like
just ignore
whatever.
it.
I think that Wally's a lot like Tony, and unless he like sees or feels something, he doesn't believe it until he like actually sees it and feels it.
Seeing is believing is what you're saying.
Basically, they don't have blind faith.
Well, I don't know. I'm very curious. We should do a poll. I'm gonna make a note. I want to know how many of our like listeners believe in these types of things because they
Mm-hmm.
probably listen to this, those that don't, and they're probably like, you guys are just like so dramatic.
Probably, but you know what? I've had enough ghost encounters. I've seen enough ghosts that I know that they're real. So,
I believe in, I think it's interesting too, because like when you say ghosts, there's people that will be like, they'll just think of like an actual, just like the ghost from like growing up, like
uh-huh.
Casper. I'm
Uh-huh.
not saying these people look like Casper. I'm saying these are like spirits and these are like actual ghosts, spirits,
Mm-hmm.
things that like are people. They're not like a
Mm-hmm.
Casper.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, if they looked like Casper, that'd be a lot more comforting, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Because the ghost that was in our house growing up, the lady ghost, Darla,
Dude, Darla's a
she,
freak.
I know Darla was so scary. She was like a straight up lady.
Do we still have that podcast episode up?
No, we deleted it. I
That
need to
story,
re-record it.
you
Darla
should,
fucks me up.
because I remember I didn't record with you and our old co-host when you guys did that, and I was listening to it in my kitchen. I was doing something, and I remember texting you guys being like, "What on freaking earth? Like this is so creepy." Because I've heard these stories, but like you went into like some serious detail that I was not
I
prepared
know
for.
my ghost growing up was definitely definitely a thing, and multiple people saw her.
I think too, like, I don't think I would have paid attention to see things like spirits or ghosts back in the day. Like, I didn't have that connection with these types of things when I was younger, for sure. Like, this has been more of a, like, I would say once I was 20, around 20 is when I started to be like more into these types of things and actually like taking it seriously. I could see there being things like this happening in my like regular world as a kid and having no clue. But I don't know, like, were you always like a spiritual child?
Um, yes and no. Like I kind of explained in the episode I did about the church, like I always kind of felt spirits and like saw spirits or like I don't know, had a feeling that like other people were around, but I always thought it was wrong. So I would like convince myself out of it. Like the first time I felt or saw a ghost, I was probably like 8, maybe. And
Isn't that when
like
you get the Holy Ghost?
it was not the Holy Ghost. It was actually one that was in our basement. I don't think it was Darla. I think it was a different one. But I was downstairs like watching morning cartoons and it flung the basement door
Oh
open and then
yeah.
slammed it. And that was like the first time I'd really like saw or felt a ghost. But I've always just kind of believed in it. But I don't I wouldn't say I was necessarily a very spiritual child because I was just made to believe that that was evil.
I would say that it probably takes like certain personalities and people being open to these types of things for them to like that's I don't think Wally's very open to it. Like I think if Wally actually was open to it, he'd probably be shocked by he has a lot of people that have died in his lineage,
Yeah.
especially like his mom and his grandma who cared like the most about him. I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee that motherfucker would have so many like
Oh, I
spiritual
guarantee his
things.
mom would visit him all the time if he was open to it.
I don't know where my kid is trying to go right now, but he just are you leaving somewhere? He just got his
He's
wisdom
got
teeth
his
out.
wisdom teeth out.
Guys. Sorry everyone for my parenting moment. Anyways, I think that I just wasn't into those things. Are you leaving? Where are you going? Do not do that. Do legs. Don't do anything with your
He's
arms.
going to the gym.
Yeah.
Damn,
You're
dedication.
gonna make it worse for yourself if you do anything too crazy. All right. Maybe take some ibuprofen before you go. The pantry. Wow. Anyways, I think when I was a child, I was terrified of these things. I also, now that I'm saying this, I also did not feel the Holy Ghost. Like people in the
Oh,
church would
me
always talk
either.
about like
Yeah.
having this spirit and this like thing. I never had those feelings, and it always made me feel like I was wrong or that I wasn't like worthy enough. Like I remember always being like, I don't feel these connections that these people keep talking about. And I don't get these emotions, and I don't get these comforts or these like signs helping me find stuff. Like I just never had that. And I remember always thinking, I like God's fucking pissed at me. Like he's pissed that I lied that I put the wrong soap in the dishwasher or something. Like I don't even know.
No, it's
But
true
I
though.
didn't have
Like
that.
on my baptism night, I thought like something magical was gonna happen and I was gonna like feel the Holy Ghost and like basically see Jesus and Joseph Smith in the flesh. And nothing happened. And like I never got like the Holy Ghost promptings. And I always thought there was something wrong with me.
This is like we haven't even gotten to our topic yet, but do you know what happened to me on my baptism night?
What?
I was already stressed about my baptism because I like rescheduled it multiple times because I wanted my dad to be out of jail. Like, hello, trauma. I wanted him to be there. Sorry for the extra noises. I'm opening my champagne. Look how cute he is.
Oh, that is cute.
So not only did I already have like those problems with getting baptized, thinking like I didn't really get why people were getting baptized. I just didn't understand it. It never felt okay to me. It felt really creepy. The fact that I'd go through this weird back door in the bathroom that's always there when you're going to church. The back door in the bathroom made me physically uncomfortable so often. And then I knew I had to go in there and then enter some baptism that also led to my Relief Society room. And I was just like, this is so creepy. All of it was creepy. But when I got baptized and they dunked me, they had to do it again because it didn't work the first time. Some part of my body like was out of the water, and they were like I don't remember who the fuck tells them that it wasn't good enough, but some man standing up was like, nope, bitch, that wasn't good enough, you have to go again. And I remember thinking like, I'm not worthy. Like God is saying like she like because I didn't know that was why. And I remember in my head being like, oh my God, like God doesn't want me to be part of this church. Like he's literally telling me what I already know, that I don't want to be part of this church. And he's like, I was like thinking in my head, like, is it like, when like pools turn a different color? I was like thinking like, is the water changing? Like, how does he know? Did God fucking tell him that like this bitch can't join the church because she has parents that do drugs and she's gonna be just like them? Like all of these things went through my mind.
Who baptized you?
I don't know. People in the church always did stuff for me. I have no idea who they were. But what I found out afterward is that my foot was poking up, that I like left a body part out, and so I had to go again. But I remember being like, all right, that's it. Like God does not want me to join this church.
But how traumatic is all this for an 8-year-old? Like our brains are not fully formed enough to even comprehend baptisms. Like it's so weird that we had to do that when we were 8 years old. We're babies.
And the fucking glorification, I'm sorry, around baptisms now, these parties that these freaking parents are having for these kids are out of control. Like there's freaking invitations going out. There's these themed parties. It's like a whole fucking production. Imagine being that kid being like, I don't even want to be in your church, but now I have to because you're throwing a freaking party. It's like every other thing just forced on you. And this big celebration of like, look how worthy our child is. And it's like, y'all are so fucked up.
And like, what sins are 8-year-olds committing that they need to be like stealing an extra piece of candy? Like, they're 8, they're babies.
Do it around age 13, 14.
Okay, but no, because baptisms for the dead were a thing. And let me tell you, once I finally got my temple recommend when the stupid bishop thought I was worthy enough, I was like, newly having my period in all white, like that's trauma. And you're like mixed with boys and girls. And like,
yeah,
at any point in your 12 to 13-year-old hormonal body, you're going to start bleeding all over these white clothes. Like that's stressful.
That would happen to you too. Honestly, I hated all of it. I knew from the beginning I hated all of it. Church was miserable. Every part of it was miserable. I never connected with it. I never understood it. I hated the super strict, like, I've always been like, don't put me in a box. Don't tell me I'm worthy. You have no fucking clue who I am. Like, and it was just, I just always had creepy vibes. I don't know.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time that I started my period for the first time?
You did on the podcast, and I just watched You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. Have you seen that? Adam Sandler's new movie? Oh my God, you have to watch it.
No.
His kids are in it.
Oh, really?
There's a part in it. There's a part in it that I was like, oh my God, I think this happened to Taylor.
Yeah, my period started in a skirt on my piano teacher's bench for the very first time.
No, that's not the story. The story I was thinking of was like when the pad was like stuck to your leg or came out of your swimming suit or something.
No, that was my friend. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Something like that happens in that movie. And I was like, oh my God, I could not imagine. And I told Molly's like, I think Taylor, this happened to her.
No, that was my friend. No, my period started. I was wearing this cute, like, schoolgirl plaid pleated skirt from Gadzooks. No, Gadzooks.
I haven't heard that name in forever.
It was so cute. And I went to piano. I was wearing limited to smiley face underwear, like, and I did my whole piano lesson and I stood up and I went to grab my piano book and I looked down and there was a giant blood spot. And I was like, and I just left. I just like turned around and left. And I got home, locked myself in the bathroom, and my mom was like, what's wrong? She's like knocking on the door, and I was crying. And I was like, I'm bleeding. And then she started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Why was she crying?
Because I became a woman.
I haven't been there yet. I don't feel like I'll cry. I'll be like, oh, this is weird as fuck.
I think you'll cry when Henley starts her period for sure. That's like, she's growing up.
I don't feel like I'd cry. I think I'm going to be like, this is so weird. I don't even know how to parent this. This is so uncomfortable to talk to you about. I mean, she's watched me like do stuff though, so it'll probably be more normal. I don't think I'll cry. That doesn't feel emotional to me at all.
Well, I also had to call my mom at work one day when I first wore a tampon because I pulled it too hard and just the string came out, but the top stayed in, and I was freaking out.
Okay, I just have to say, your first experience having it and then all the random shit that always happens to you should have known moving forward that like you were gonna have the most brutal PMS and cycles and everything. Like you have the weirdest shit happen to you that like I've never experienced. I have no idea how this, like, sometimes when you say it, I'm like, there's no fucking way this is possible. How is this possible?
Really did. And I did not wear a tampon for the longest time because I was so traumatized. I was on the phone with my mom. She was at work. I was like panicking, crying, and she's trying to tell me, you got to stick your fingers up there and you just got to grab it and pull it out. And I was like, I'm not doing that. It was so traumatic.
I've already said it on here, but I wasn't allowed to wear them because that would pop my cherry and mean I'm not a virgin anymore. So we weren't allowed to wear them. But my sister is into women and she didn't wear one until she was like 20 plus. I cannot remember the age right now, but she didn't even put it in herself. She had her girlfriend put it in for her.
Ew, 50 Shades of Grey.
She was too scared because my grandma traumatized us.
Oh, that's sad.
On
That's
that
sad.
note,
This is why the Mormon religion sucks, people. Just kidding.
is this an episode about why the Mormon church sucks, or is this an episode about something else? Sorry, everyone. Just be very gentle. Like, very gentle. Jaden needed to brush his teeth.
Oof. Man, he's just dedicated to his gym life.
I mean, if he can go to the gym, he can go to work tomorrow for sure.
True that.
I was trying to say it loud to see if he looked.
He's like, whatever, Shelby.
He's like, I'm ignoring you. Okay, let's talk about our actual topic because we got way off topic here.
Yeah, we did. I don't even know how we got there.
Ghosts and the Holy Ghost, they're kind of the same.
That was legitimately a group chat right there.
1000. Okay, what we wanted to talk to you guys about today, kind of going with the last episode that we put out, we wanted to talk about having a healthy and balanced holiday season. And I don't know, did you put this on our list of topics?
I don't know, actually.
I don't know where it came from,
Mhm.
but I saw it and I was like, well, it is the fucking holidays. So I thought it would be really great to talk about. But I also, it kind of gave me a little bit of stress when I was preparing for this episode. I don't know if you felt that way.
Um, yes and no. Like, I don't know. I feel like the holidays are just so hard, like, to be healthy and balanced. So I did feel a little stressed about that.
I think I just was thinking, because like I'm so excited. Christmas is for sure going up early at my house. I don't know who I have become. I don't know what is going on, but like I would put Christmas up this weekend if I had time this weekend, for sure. And like that's never happened. I've always been like, once Thanksgiving is over, Christmas can go up. It would be like the day after for sure. That's always been my limit. But this year I'm like, why not? Like it feels like it should be happening. But when I was thinking about like having a healthy and balanced holiday season to make my notes, I was just thinking like, dang, the holidays are so chaotic. They really bring a lot of like your time, money, yourself all seem to just like fly away.
Yeah, they really do. Sorry, I was getting blue light glasses because I'm getting a headache, but I think these are my real glasses because I put them on and was like, oh, I can see. Anyways, yeah, it's very hard to stay balanced at the holiday season.
So I think like what's important, because we already talked about like hosting and being a good attendee, but I think it's also important to like talk about maintaining your own routines and maintaining a healthy balance with everything that you have going on. And that ties into so many different things. Like, not only is it important for you to have a healthy lifestyle and a balanced lifestyle during busy things like this, it's also important for you to like be aware of like your budget, your family, like all your workload, like every ounce of your life is going to be affected if you're not paying attention to each one of these little bubbles. I feel like I wrote down a bunch of like challenges and pitfalls that you can experience during the holiday season, because I feel like it's important to highlight these, because I think sometimes you forget like what triggers there are or what areas or signs you can like focus on. For me, it's really helpful when I identify like areas or categories to think like where things fall into so I can pay attention to them. So the challenges and pitfalls that I came up with are, there is severe amounts of food. Like there's excess food like crazy. That's not healthy food for the most part. It's usually not healthy. You're usually eating out a lot more, which then causes you to spend even more money during the holidays. So you're spending more money in general, but you're also spending more because you're eating out or you're buying stuff to go to holiday parties or to bring a dish or whatever. I think sometimes we get really hyped up into the season and the excitement, and we just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this, and we don't think about what does that cost us at the grocery store to make this and show up to this event. It takes away from your time. There can be sicknesses during the holidays. You're staying up later than you normally would, and then also having to show up to work the next day. So you are really cutting yourself like short on like the sleep time, I would say. Your stress levels will definitely increase. Your social batteries will definitely like they will increase and then they will deplete super quick. If you're not paying attention, your social batteries could be super out of whack. Your expectations can be a challenge and a pitfall. And then also the expectations of people around you are a challenge. So it's not only your expectations, but other people's expectations. Alcohol is like usually in excess for sure around the holidays. And then if you also have like a lack of support or a support system during the holidays, I feel like those are like things that are almost like you need to dodge those things a lot. Like they could be really bad for you.
I would also add on there, your boundaries get tested a lot during the holidays.
That's a good one to add because I think because I don't have like much family, I don't run into that very often. Like my boundaries, I have like 5 people in my life and it's like I actually hang out with them and want to be around them. So it's like no one's really testing my boundaries very often.
Yeah, boundaries get tested a lot around the holidays for a lot of people, whether it's for family or work. Like if you don't want to go to your work party, but you feel like you have to, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like boundaries are very loose and open around the holidays.
I would say, listen, I guess it really depends what's going on, but for the most part, you 1000% need to show up to that work party. People take note. I know for a fact that if you don't show up to the holiday party, management's judging you.
I always show up to my holiday party. That was not an example of me.
I like holiday parties. I look forward to them. I mean, sometimes it's also like, God, I don't want to do this, but it's also like, I gotta get dressed up.
Yeah.
So I would say too, like with the boundaries thing, I would also add to like your personal relationship with your like spouse usually gets tested a lot during the holidays because it's really busy and it takes away time from like your guys' normal routines. And I hate to say it, but men are just really fucking needy. And like the second you stop paying attention and making your world revolve around them and you focus it on other people, they tend to start being like, what about me? Help me, I'm poor.
Don't you want to hang out with me?
Do you even love me? But then also you're spending money and you're more stressed out and then you take it out on your spouse. Like I do this every year. I'm always like, oh my God, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, dude, relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say like it tests a lot. It tests a lot of areas, I would say, the holidays. But they also bring a lot of really good things. And I think that's what's really hard is like for the most part, people get very wrapped up in like these pitfalls and these challenges. And it's very, very hard for us to remember and enjoy the like good parts of the season. But I think that's why it's important to have a topic like this so that we can like highlight certain things, give tips and tricks, and then hopefully people can find a better balance to make it through so they don't leave it with resentment. Because I for sure have been in that space. You for sure have been in that space because you fucking hate Christmas.
I know. I do hate Christmas. I'm actually excited for Christmas this year, which is very strange for me, but Christmas is definitely not my favorite holiday. I don't know. I don't even know why. What?
My dog's going crazy. You'd never do that. They're barking.
What?
How dare you bark? I don't know what they're barking at. Who knows? Sorry.
It's fine.
Continue.
But yeah, I'm just not a big Christmas person, so.
But I think I would say you haven't always been the level of disdain towards Christmas. I think that there were a few years where it was maxing you out a lot and you were feeling very spread thin, taken advantage of, like you're giving more and receiving less, like you were giving more than you were getting, not in like presence, maybe in presence, but I would say like more in like energy. And I think that really made you start to be like, you know what, fuck Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know what, like I can't pinpoint one or two specific things that made me just like not love Christmas. It just, there's so much expectation put on it. And it's like, for what? And I also just don't love Christmas music. So the fact that Christmas music is fucking everywhere drives me nuts.
I love Christmas music. I think expectations are a huge thing and a huge part of why Christmas can be really stressful. I would say that I feel like there's been a shift over the last couple years where people are starting to be like, you know what, like fuck your expectations, fuck the fact that you think that you have to give a present to everyone. I think we almost put those on ourselves sometimes too.
Yeah, for
I think we
sure.
grew up in a generation where people
You gave
were, if
presents to everybody.
yes, you give them to
Mm-hmm.
everybody, you show up for everybody, and if
Mm-hmm.
you get something from somebody, you have to also give them something. And so it was always like, fuck, I didn't get this person a present. Now I gotta go get them a
Mm-hmm.
present. And like, you just, I don't know how I did it back in the day. Honestly, in our 20s, I
I
have no
know.
idea.
I
Like,
know.
no clue how I got everyone presents and pulled
Mm-hmm.
everything off. I was giving like fucking neighbors presents. I was like, so many
But that
things.
is like, that totally is our generation. Like growing up, we gave the entire, like my mom would stress out so bad about what the neighbor gift was going to be for the year and how like the poem would go with whatever it was. And so like when I moved out on my own, I was like, shit, I got to do neighbor gifts. And finally I was like, I fucking hate neighbors. Like I'm not doing anything. And I don't do neighbor gifts and I don't get neighbor gifts. And that's fine. But part of my stress too would be like, I wouldn't know who was going to give me a gift. So then if they'd give me a gift and I wouldn't have something, I'd be like, oh, I left it at home, or like make some stupid excuse. And that just made me really dislike Christmas.
Yeah, I think that for a while, Christmas spirit was very hard to have. Also, Thanksgiving, like, because that's part of the holiday season. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a huge hate for Thanksgiving. And then I started creating Thanksgiving the way that I wanted it to be. Like, I was having Thanksgiving where I showed up, I did the thing, I was putting in all this work, putting all this effort in, and then people would just show up and do nothing. And I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even like this food. And I'm over here cooking it and cleaning it and doing all these things. And you're just sitting on your ass. Like, it wasn't fun for me. So then I was like, I'm gonna start going on vacation on Thanksgiving or doing something that I enjoy because I don't even like the holiday. I don't like Thanksgiving. I don't enjoy it. I think the food, like the only thing I like is mashed potatoes and like maybe a turkey sandwich the next day. I don't even like it the actual day of. So I was just like,
Dang, I love
I think
Thanksgiving.
if you can highlight certain things that are like going wrong within your holiday season and making them what you want, the expectations have changed. I think that it's allowed and it's more acceptable. And that's like a boundary you put in place where it's like, this year I'll come home, the next year I won't. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
usually try and like do every other sometimes so that I don't know, I guess I still feed into it where I don't want to be a total asshole, but there are times where I'm like, oh, it is nice to be around family sometimes. So I
Mm-hmm.
think finding a balance, realizing why you have something that like bothers you about a holiday is a huge way to help you fix it and navigate it moving forward. But if you just always go into it every year of just like stressed, frazzled, chaos, I don't like it, I'm in a negative place, blah, and then you just rinse and repeat, you'll never actually figure out why you're pissed about it. You have to like actually
Mm-hmm.
sit and think like, why am I actually not enjoying this?
Mm-hmm. That is something that I definitely had to do because, like, even if you don't like Christmas or the holiday season, it's still going to come around every year. And finally, I think it was probably last year that I was like, I've got to change my mindset around this because I already am having seasonal depression. I don't need to have holiday depression on top of it. So, like, I have to find some positives. I have to decorate my house because there was like a year that I didn't decorate because I was just like such a Grinch. And I really like had to change my mindset around it. And that really has helped a ton.
I do think things like that help a lot. But I think that comes down to like being mindful about stuff. So like
Mm-hmm.
all of these challenges and pitfalls that I identified, like being mindful of those. Like you have to pay attention to these things. If you're not paying attention to the food you're eating, you're not paying attention to how much alcohol you're drinking, if you're not paying attention to your budget, like you
Mm-hmm.
have to be mindful and intentional this entire holiday season.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll go through it resenting it, maxing yourself out. Like so many different variables happen from it if you're not paying attention to these things, I think.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that.
With that though, I think the biggest thing that people stress about around the holidays are A, expectations, B, money. Honestly, money's probably A.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on top of that, like their time and the food and like the things they're consuming, like although we like indulging on the food, we're not paying attention to the fact that that actually feeds into the negativity already. So like when you're eating bad and you're drinking, if you don't drink, like that's fine, but like you're still probably eating a lot of different things and you're probably not paying attention to your workout routines anymore. All of those things feed into the other things. So if your body's not right and your mind's not right, it's just gonna make all of those things worse.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing, is sticking to your routine during the holiday season. And especially like, so me, I've been trying to eat like a lot cleaner and like not a lot of fast food, not a lot of processed food, like cooking more vegetables and things like that. And I can definitely tell, like before my wedding, like the week before my wedding, we were just so busy. We were just kind of eating whatever we could eat, whether it was fast food or frozen pizza or whatever it was. And I definitely could feel in my body, and my mental health definitely was not as good as it should be and could have been. And so being very mindful of that going into the holiday season, like what you're putting in your body definitely contributes to your mood, your overwhelm, your stress, your anxiety, all of those.
I totally feel that because right now I'm still on like super soft food diet, and I was eating like most of the time just soup at home and stuff, but it was like constantly. And I'm on like, I don't even know, it feels like week 3 at this point. I can't even, I think it's close to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it like last weekend I started to be like, I cannot eat another motherfucking soup. Like I have to get one from a restaurant. Like I can't keep making these soups. Like I'm going crazy. Oh my god, another fruit fly during podcasting. What is happening? So I ended up getting Olive Garden, and I was like, it was really great. I mean, it wasn't. It was great because it was different. But then the next day, my family got Sonic. And then the next day, I don't remember what happened after that. We had something else. And like we've been eating out multiple times, and we haven't been eating out hardly at all. And I've noticed how different it makes me feel, and I can only imagine
Mm-hmm.
how different it makes my family feel, because I was eating very limited things. Like last night
Mm-hmm.
we had Cafe Rio and I got the soup and like rice and beans. I missed it. But like they're eating the full on meal, and I was just sitting there like, when you take a second and you like aren't eating the same thing and indulging in the same thing, you start to look at and be like, holy shit, like when you consume these extra things, you're not
Mm-hmm.
even realizing, because it just seems so exciting and good, and it's like a treat and a reward, whatever you like put on it mentally. You're not even realizing how much you're consuming. I think eating out is like one of the worst things that you can do, actually, although it's so nice, it
Mm-hmm.
is so bad. And the only thing I can think, because like I don't feel super gross, the only thing I can think is that I keep waking up every day and working out. So I would say, like, if you're going to be indulging and going to all these different things or having to eat out because it's like, let's meet up for dinner, let's do this, let's do that, going to this party and there's this food, like make sure you're staying physically active, because I think that's the only way,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's like the bare minimum. All I'm doing right now is like mostly walking, and even that starts to hurt my mouth. But I notice on the days, like there's been a couple of days where I haven't, and I notice on those days I feel worse. My mental space is weird. I feel
Mm-hmm.
gross, and I'm just kind of like a blob here on earth. That's how I feel on those days.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so true. Yesterday, I'll share like a current example. I've been suffering like pretty bad vertigo since Saturday for some reason. I don't know why I'm having this vertigo problem happening, but I haven't worked out at all. And yesterday, my mental health was just so terrible. I had therapy and I was just like not in a good place. And I was like, I have got to go do something, even if it's just 10 minutes. Like, I have to go move my body. And I ended up working out for like an hour and 15 minutes, and I felt like a whole new person afterwards. And so, really, if you are not feeling good mentally or even physically, just try to do a small movement of your body. I'm dying at you trying to catch this slide. Just try to do a small movement of your body, because I promise you, it helps so much. It does not need to be like, oh, I'm going to go run a marathon in the middle of Christmas celebrations. Like, no, just wake up a little early, go on a walk, or lift a few weights, or stretch a little bit. Like, it will make a very big difference.
One thing I'm doing right now is, I have done it in the past. I'm doing like push-ups every day, and I have like an alarm that goes off. And even though that's sometimes like the most of my strength training, I already feel like stronger from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
just that little bit of like, here's 25 to 30 push-ups a day, like nothing. I mean, they're not real ones, they're on my knees. Let's calm down, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's just weird doing something that makes you feel powerful and like is so intentional like that really changes so much. And like I know it's going to get colder, so like walking might not be an option for you or something like that, but also the cold air is actually really really
Really
good for your
good for you.
mental state.
Mm-hmm.
Like bundle up, take your dogs on a walk around the block, literally just one block is
Mm-hmm.
really not it will take 15 minutes, maybe 20, and like it could completely change your mood and completely change how you feel. Also, like if you are at a holiday party or you're eating a lot, like tell people, like there's times where we'll be like, dude, I ate so much, you guys want to go on a quick walk, and we'll just go on a
Mm-hmm.
walk around the block, and it helps so much. Just like get moving, and it will totally change your like everything, honestly.
It really
But I think
does.
that like honestly, movement, we say it so much, it sounds like super obnoxious, I feel like every time I even say it at this point, but it really really changes things.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a list of like things you can do to be mindful around eating and drinking during the holidays. I don't know if you have any tips on that, but I have a list, obviously. So if you are going into the holidays and you know that you're going to be eating and drinking like a motherfucker, because hello, that's me. um it just happens. I really love food. I'm sorry,
I do
and I'm not
too.
sorry. Like I honestly have zero guilt around the holidays, around my drinking. I enjoy every part of it. Like I love going to all these celebrations, having my drinks with my friends, having some fucking cheese. Like I never regret it. But I think it's because I've created habits. But if you don't have all these habits and you don't love it the way that I do, and you feel totally fine going into it and just drinking and eating your life away, here's the list that you need to follow. One, portion control. I think this is one I actually am very mindful about, but enjoying the treats that are there, but in moderation, is totally going to save you. Like being mindful of the portion sizes, how much of it you're eating, the flavor, like savoring it and doing it slowly rather than like super aggressive. There's been times where like I for sure have not done that. I will show up and I'll be like, this is fucking amazing, I'm gonna eat all of it. And then I'm like, I hope no one's seeing how much I'm eating of this. But I think there's a huge thing of like portion control, because if you're slow about it, that's actually number two, eat slowly. But if you're slow about it and you're intentional and mindful of like what you're putting on your plate, you more than often are taking more than you actually want to eat or can eat. And then you're like stuffing your face afterwards. Like
Mm-hmm.
take it in small portions and like know that you're there for a certain amount of time. And like if it's gone, that's okay. Like you will survive. I've for sure over ordered or overtaken on food because I'm like, I feel like, what if I'm hungry, or what if this, what if it's all gone? And I've regretted it every single time, 1000%.
This is what I really need to work on. I have zero control around food around the holidays. I do not know what it is. I do not know what monster gets unleashed inside of my brain.
Cookie
But
Monster.
this is really what I'm going to be working on this year. It's like portion control. And Tony is so good about this. And I really need to be better about that.
I don't know what it is for me. I don't know when the switch happened for me, but like I for sure, like I don't know if you noticed, but there like when we have like the spread out, I'm usually just standing
Mhm.
there talking to people and like sipping on a drink and like nibbling here and there. I don't know when it shifted, because I know I used to just like load up my plate and then I'd be stuffed
Mhm.
and like felt like shit. I don't know when it shifted, but I
Mhm.
know that like I used to do it. I wish I knew like what I had done or what happened in my brain to be like, oh, I don't actually care as much about the food. I care about the
Mhm.
people. I have no idea. But portion
Yeah.
control is number one. I think that this will save you for sure. The second one is eating slowly. Really enjoying it will help with the portion control too, because if you slow down and eat it, you're actually gonna like savor it rather than like scarfing it down where you feel like you never actually tasted it. And so that's why you usually eat more. So like the slower you eat, the more you're enjoying it. And then the more my grandma used to actually say this to my sister all the time because she used to eat so fast and then she'd eat so much. And my grandma would be like, you're not giving your brain enough time to communicate with your stomach. Your stomach can't even catch up to your brain to be like, hey, bitch, we're fucking full. Please stop eating, because you're just like scarfing, and you're eating so fast. You're like, I want more, I want more. And I've lately had to like think about this sometimes because there's like a few meals that like Wally and I for sure love. And we'll be like, oh, I think I might, it's usually tacos, but we'll be like pretty full, but it was so good that we'll be like, I think I'm going to go back for more. Or like, I probably shouldn't do it, but I think I want more. And then I'll be like, let's wait, like, let's wait till the next commercial, something. And then by that next commercial, we're both like, I don't want any more. But my grandma used to always say, like, you're eating so fast that your brain cannot tell your stomach, and your stomach cannot tell your brain, we need to stop. And so I think that there's something really important with like eating slower. People also say too, like having like a drink, like a water or whatever it is, like making sure that you drink fluids while you're eating, because that also helps you slow down. Like I don't have that problem because I actually am like a over consumer of fluids while I drink. Like I don't know if I have I just have the biggest fear about having a small throat, because my grandma had to get her throat widened, and I think it's a genetic thing now that I just remembered this. Fuck. But I've always had to have like water or a drink. Like I can only have a couple bites and then I have to drink something. Like if you don't have something and you're drinking it, I think that's another thing that helps with eating slower, is like taking a few bites, drinking, because then it gives you like more time for everything to process. On the list, I also have healthy swaps, which is like so hard during the holidays. Like
it is hard.
It's not easy. One thing that I sounds so stupid now that I say it out loud. One of the healthy swaps that I have like always like thought is like so great for me is the cheese ball at Harmon's. They have like a jalapeno cheese ball, and I always only buy it with cucumber slices, and I love to eat it with the cucumber slices.
Ooh,
and in my
that
brain, it's like the healthy swap, but like really I'm loading up a pile of cream cheese on a cucumber, which it's still healthier. It is. I shouldn't discredit it, but it sounds so stupid at the end of the day, because otherwise you'd be eating a chip, which is carbs and sodium and all these other things. But every time if I'm buying that cheese ball, I'm buying those cucumber slices because I'm like, this is the healthy swap.
An example I have for this, so I work in a medical office, and I worked in medical offices for a long time, and I'm telling you, medical offices are the most unhealthy places on the planet, especially around the holidays. And so anytime we have anything that like a potluck or anything, or sometimes I'll just do it just because, I always bring a veggie and or a fruit tray, because everybody brings treats or rolls or carbs of some sort, like empty carbs, and nobody ever brings vegetables or fruit. So I will always bring that, so that's always an option. And that's always the first thing that's gone, because people are like, oh my gosh, something healthy. So if you are bringing things places, especially like work functions, try to go for the healthier version of something rather than a sweet or cookies or something, because everybody's going to bring that.
I think too, with healthy swaps, like the easiest one is homemade. Like I know it takes more time and it might cost you more sometimes, honestly, maybe not, but what?
Just don't make no bake cookies with bananas.
Or deviled eggs with avocados. Sorry, that's an inside joke. But
if you've ever wondered about a healthy swap for no bake cookies and adding a banana instead of whatever ingredient that takes the place of, don't do it, because it literally tastes like throw up.
It is throw up. It's
Anyways,
just
go on.
regurgitation. Clearly someone made us no eggs with bananas and it was unacceptable. And deviled eggs with avocados, also unacceptable. I put them in my disposal. But making something at home is a huge way to like help with the help. Oh my gosh. Those of you that watch us on YouTube, you just get a freaking show because every time you get a light show from Taylor, I got gnats. The light show that just happened was extreme. Need some water really fast. That was weird and uncomfortable.
That was weird. It always happens.
Maybe your dad makes snow bakes with bananas.
Probably.
Passionate. But making it homemade, like buying stuff from the store is actually really processed, even if it's from the bakery, even if it's from like you think it's like better. Honestly, Harmon's is legit though. I think they do really well at like not making things overly fattening. But like buying a 7-layer dip from the grocery store compared to making it yourself, you're probably gonna save in calories. It's going to be healthier for you. So anytime that you can like swap things out, a cheesecake from home, all of those things, I truly believe that like you can make those healthier by not buying them, because I don't think people realize how much sodium especially is in, or just like random additives that they're putting in stores. Like if it's not made from the bakery, especially, it's for sure full of additives because they have to keep it good until someone buys it in the store. So like if you can make it from home, that's great. Also remember that like holiday treats are full of freaking sugar. Like they are packed, like the treats for the holidays are not meant to be healthy. No one signed up for any of these and was like, let's make bitches skinny. They were like, load it up and make these bitches fat so they survive winter. 1000%. So just like pay attention to what's on the table, pay attention to what you're bringing. If you can bring something and make it a little bit better, do it. If not, just do it, but be mindful about your portion control for sure. With drinking, I would say staying hydrated is a huge thing, like throughout the day. If you know you're going to a party that night or like a get together, whatever you want to call it, make sure you drink water that day. There's so many times where we end up hanging out and I'm like, I did not drink enough water today for this. Like I told myself that like that morning, make sure you're drinking water, but then I got busy and I didn't drink water, and I feel it for sure during the night. Like I can't drink as much alcohol, which is a weird thing I've noticed as I've gotten older. If I'm dehydrated, I can't drink as much alcohol.
I'm the opposite. If I'm dehydrated, my body's like, ooh, liquid, fill me up, whatever it is. Last year I got
champagne, please.
Last year I got so wasted and it was not good. Great. And then the next day when I was questioning all my life decisions, I was like, I think I maybe had half a glass of water yesterday and the entire day. So
yes. Drinking water is super important, but then also like not only staying hydrated, but staying hydrated like before, but staying hydrated during that night. Like if you've had a few drinks in a row, take a break. They always say like one drink of this and then one drink of water. I can't do that. I can't stick to that plan. Give me a glass of champagne. I'm going to fill it right back up as soon as it's empty. Like I'm not going for the water, but have a water glass or something. I take my Starbucks cups. That's really helpful for me, knowing that I have water, because if I have it, I usually will reach for it because I do get thirsty. So drink it throughout the day, especially before you go, but also drinking and being hydrated during the day actually helps you not overeat. So like if you're hydrated, you're not going to overeat as much, but then on top of that, let's add to that, make sure you eat before you go to the party. Like don't starve yourself. Back in the day, we used to starve ourselves because we knew we were going somewhere. It was like, I want to eat everything possible there, or I'm drinking tonight, so I don't want to eat anything because it's calories. I don't even know what was going through our brains, but like that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Like that was so weird that we used to do that.
I mean, honestly though, it's hard because sometimes you do get busy. I will say Taylor's really bad at this. Sorry for calling you out right now, but you're really bad at not eating and then showing up and being like, I haven't eaten all day. And I'm like, bitch, you knew you were. That's
actually something that I'm working on this year too, because I am notorious for that. especially on Saturdays if I'm going down to Salt Lake after teaching yoga, because I'm like, okay, I got to teach yoga. I got to go home. I got to shower. I got to collect all my things and then go down. And so, like, there's no time to eat. There sure as shit is time to drink coffee. So I'll show up jittery as hell and be like, I need food right now, or I'm going to like pass out, or I'll have a sip of champagne and I'm drunk. So, yes, that is actually something I'm working on this season.
I think that it's definitely like, it is hard because I don't know if you're like me, but when I like work out, I can't eat right away. Like
I can't either. Yeah.
I need like time. I can have coffee or I can have something else, but like food is not on my agenda. But I, again, not sure when I made these like conscious decisions in my brain, but I've been very like, oh, I know that we're drinking tonight. I know that we're going to be eating and drinking. I'm still going to eat lunch. I need to make a sandwich. I need to make this. Like, oh, I need to get the egg bites, like whatever. Like when I was going to your wedding, I knew I was gonna be eating the fuck out of that charcuterie board, but I still hit Starbucks on my way and I was like, I gotta get a bacon Gouda breakfast sandwich because like I need real food. I need to make sure that I have something else in my stomach because it just leads to overeating and over drinking. But then on top of it, you don't ever feel like you actually got the food. Like I don't know what it is, but I think that's why we overeat is because like for some reason our body still isn't I don't know if alcohol like makes your brain stop thinking it's full. I have no idea. But you really do overeat and drink when you haven't eaten all day or been hydrated all day.
For sure.
And I think that just comes down to being mindful with your drinking too. Like back in the day, I used to show up and be like, how many fucking shots can I take tonight? Like, let's get rowdy. And like now I don't feel that way. Like
now I think I would die.
I do drink a decent amount of wine and champagne, 1000%, or tequila. I can for sure slam tequila, but like I'm mindful about it, you know, like I'm paying attention to like how my body feels, how I'm feeling. Do I need water? Do I need like, should I have that shot? Should I have a glass? Like always fill my glass, but like I'll sip on it. I'll take it slower. And I think that it just comes down to being mindful about what's going on and being like, instead of reaching for more food, like stopping and like checking in with like, how do I actually feel? Why was I going to do that? Was that out of habit? Because there's so many times, if there's a dip and a chip, you're for sure doing it out of habit so many times. Like if I see something, I'm talking to someone, maybe I'm feeling uncomfortable. And so I'm like, how can I distract myself right now? Let me take a chip. Like figuring out how you can be mindful. I don't remember who I was listening to. Someone was telling me that like, they like pinch themselves when they start like feeling this so that they can like try and bring themselves back to reality and be more mindful. And I think that that's part of the problem is like anxiety, food, alcohol, boundaries are being crossed, you're stressed, you're feeling like you're finally able to relax, but then like there's all this temptation around you. Like figuring out what you can do to like bring yourself to the present moment is huge. Like making sure you can feel your body and your brain can connect the fact that you like touched yourself. Like I have that sounded so gross. Don't fucking touch your vagina, please. But like I notice sometimes like I will like stretch my hands because I'm trying to bring like feeling back to like you get so wrapped up in social situations or you're suddenly getting anxiety or you're like I don't know, your body just gets in like this routine and like instead of eating or whatever, I'll just like start to like stretch my hands because I'm like, all right, like bring yourself back to the fucking earth, like calm down. Those are my only tips, although they took 10 years.
I think those are great tips.
Do you have any other tips for mindful eating and drinking during the holidays?
Meditate. Just kidding. I just have to throw that in every episode. No, I think I'm good.
Please don't meditate at the dinner table. The other thing I have too around all of this is like managing your stress and prioritizing yourself during the season is huge. Like it really can be hard and you'll get swept away. Like we mentioned it a little bit last episode, but like your time and your money and your mental state will be swept away if you're not managing it. The best way I manage these things is I have a list, obviously. I have a note in my phone. I pay attention to what I'm buying for people. I have a list of like who I'm buying Christmas presents for, who I need to prioritize. And then every time I buy something for them, I'm putting it on that note because I think it's really easy to just be like, buying stuff and then you put it in the corner. Like I don't know if you do this because like I do it mostly because I have like kids and stuff. But like I'll buy shit and it's just like this pile and pile and pile. And I forget sometimes what the fuck I bought. But I've learned to start making a note of like, okay, here's all the people I'm buying presents for. Here's what I've started to get stuff for. And then also this person has nothing. I need to make sure I go shopping intentionally for that person so that I'm not just like wandering stores and spending money and like not paying attention to what I'm doing. That's been really helpful for me managing my budget, but then also like expectations around who I'm giving to and who I'm like intentionally wanting to like take time out of for. I also think too with managing the stress and prioritizing stuff is like remembering why you're actually having a holiday. Like remembering why you're going to Thanksgiving. Why am I driving to Blanding and spending extra days? Why did we take time off to stay longer? I'm doing it because I like want to be grounded with family time. Like I'm gonna be reminding myself of that every time I'm irritated as fuck down in Blanding. Like remembering why you're doing certain stuff at Christmas, remembering why you have Christmas, like, oh, remembering the fact that there's people that don't have stuff. How can you give more to others? Like giving more to others will always bring more abundance into your life. If you're in a negative headspace, doing other things, acts of service for other people will immediately start bringing you out of it. It's like proven scientifically it will happen. Like if you're feeling low, figure out how you can give more to others. That's just, I don't know. Bible.
It's true. Jesus is a reason for the season, guys.
It is a fact. But no, I think it's just like if you're feeling stressed and you're feeling like you can't prioritize yourself or you're doing nothing right or you don't have money, like you really need to ground yourself and like have a come to Jesus. And like I don't know, there's so many times I check myself during the holiday season.
Yeah, for sure.
So many times where I like vent to Wally where I start getting really stressed out and he's like, we will always make more money. We always figure it out. Like it's going to be just fine. Like it's not that serious. And I will get to that level where I'm like, ah, and like it's taking a long time for me. Like making a list has been super helpful, but then also like who do I intentionally want to give to and who do I intentionally want to be around? Really.
Yep, I totally agree with that. I also do the list in my phone and it's so helpful.
A list really goes a long way.
I know I'm not like a huge list person, but for Christmas, I'm a huge list person because I used to just buy stuff and throw it in the corner. And then I had no idea like what I had. And then like one of my sisters would have more than the other. And like it was just too much. And I'd be like, I have to run to the store and get something to make this like match up like money wise. And it was just like ridiculous. So a list really is helpful.
I think that's important too, like saying money wise, like money is not the purpose. The quantity is not the purpose. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like. All it matters is that you did something for somebody else. And like, I don't know where we've gotten to the point where we think that that's what matters is like they're going to be judging you based off of your gift. I don't know if that's like something from our past, but it's like a thing for sure. Like
it is.
I don't know if we just grew up with it. I don't know if it's like from our parents. I have no freaking clue, but it's 1000% like I go through it all the time where I'm like, this doesn't look like a very good present. Sorry.
Yep. I have to feel like, that all the time.
Just accept that you got her something. Like that's okay. If they don't like it, that's not your problem.
It's that's on them.
You thought, I like this. I want to give this to somebody. If they don't like it, re-gift it. I don't give a fuck. Just don't re-gift it back to me.
Yes, please don't.
But the only other thing I have, and you might have better insight on this, is like boundaries during the holiday season and like how to have a balanced and healthy like situation. I have it easier with boundaries, I would say, but I will say that I also just don't have a lot of people in my life like pulling and like doing things. And because I live like a super structured scheduled life, like if they did reach out, it would be really easy for me to be like, oh shit, I already have something, like sorry you're late to the game. Like I have no problem being like, I already have a commitment regardless of who it is. Like if it was my grandma and she was like, oh, I'm having a party, it'd be like, Grams, like it's the week before. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but I already committed to this thing, and like I can't completely dishevel my entire life, because then that takes it out on me. That makes my energy, like, that means I have to reschedule this. That means I have to tell this person no. That means I have to then do this and travel here and do this. Like, I don't think people realize when they last minute and don't plan what someone else has to do to restructure their schedules, because it's not just my schedule, it's also Wally's schedule, and then also our
Mm-hmm.
kids. But on top of that, like, if you get late to the game, my boundary is like, I'm sorry, I already have a commitment. If I don't have a commitment and I can make it work 1000%,
Mm-hmm.
but those are like really the only things that I have, is like, if it's scheduled and I have the time and the ability to do it, like, I would love to show up. If it's last minute and you are not planning and you think I should just suddenly drop everything, I'm sorry. Like, I have to
I
protect
can't.
myself. And
Yeah.
I've always just had that protection for myself and my time, but I also don't have like that many people pulling at me.
This is definitely a new thing for me that I'm really being intentional. And I actually just had a situation today. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but I had to tell this person, like, I'm really sorry, but this is my boundary and I'm holding to that. And I felt terrible in my mind, but I was like very firm with it. And then this person kind of tried to make me feel guilty. And I just was like, this is my boundary and I'm sticking to it. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let you make me feel bad for holding my boundary like this. Like, I was hurt by something this person did, and I am holding to this boundary. And it was very uncomfortable. But I think just like keep reiterating to yourself in your mind. And if you even have to say it out loud, we all know I'm a big talker to myself out loud, but just like telling yourself, like, this is the reason why I'm doing this. I was hurt because of this, or they didn't respect me in this way. And so I need to make sure that I, hold this boundary. This is the reason why I'm holding this boundary. Just because it's the holidays doesn't mean that you have to be lax on your boundaries.
I think it's important to say, like, I don't know if this is how you officially communicated it to. When we say like, this is my boundary and I'm sticking to it, that's not actually what you have to say, because like,
Mm-hmm.
I can understand that people be like, I'm not fucking saying that to someone, they're gonna think I'm a dick. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's what you said. I think there's certain people you can, like, if Taylor said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, I get it, we go to therapy, I understand these words.
Mm-hmm.
People that don't do things like this, you have to say it differently. Like, you do have to communicate it in a way of like, you're not saying it's your boundary. Just fucking fruit fly. You're not saying it's like, you're not saying, I'm sorry, I can't come. I have a boundary with you. Like, that's not what
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to say when we say these
No,
things to you. What
no.
I'm trying to say is like, you need to let them know that, like, unfortunately, I'm not able to make it. And oh, I wish I could, but I'm not going to be able to make it. That's you saying it without having to go into detail necessarily. If they push,
Mm-hmm.
you can open that conversation for sure. But when we say like, this is my boundary, I'm sorry, I'm sticking to it, that's not what we're actually communicating
Yeah,
to
yeah.
people. So don't, like, I think sometimes people can gloss over that conversation when we have this, because they think we're actually saying that. That's not what we're
Mm-hmm.
saying. We're just saying
That's,
like, oh
yeah,
shoot,
that's a good
sorry,
point. That's
I
what
have a
I was
commitment.
saying in my head of like, this is my
Yeah.
boundary and I'm not being lax on this boundary. This is the reason why I have this boundary and this is why I need to stick with this boundary.
I think too is like, when you're putting these boundaries in place, again, you're not communicating it. This is my boundary, I'm sticking to it. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but that's not, like, I would recommend not. But I would say too, like, do your best to not apologize. Like, Taylor and I
Mm-hmm.
learned through Rachel Hollis to like stop apologizing. Like, our I'm sorry necklaces was like the best thing that we ever did, I think, is like, and I find myself sometimes like texting, sorry, blah, blah, and I'll be like, stop apologizing. Like, you don't need to apologize for this. And I'll like back up and be like, how can I rephrase this without apologizing? Because I didn't actually do anything and I don't feel sorry. I need to not say sorry right now. And so do your best when you're setting your boundaries as well to not apologize when you don't need to apologize. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it's just point blank, like, this is what it is, that's okay. And you can rephrase it. Like, if you, it's hard because you need like actual scenarios to break this down, but like, if you stop before sending it and be like, okay, I don't want to apologize for this, how can I rephrase this without apologizing, you will come up with
Mm-hmm.
something. So like,
Mm-hmm.
backtrack, don't apologize for it, and just put those hard stops in place when you need to protect yourself. That's the only way that you will not overextend yourself. You won't be taken advantage of. You won't feel like resentful towards people. Like having these things in place will really, really save you during the holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say too, like finding time for yourself during the holidays, that's really hard. I don't have a lot of advice with that. Like
I don't either.
I do my best. I wake up early and I find time for myself that way, but I can't tell everyone like you need to wake up at 5 a.m. and find time for yourself. But like if you can get time for yourself or time with a friend or step away and go shopping with just them or whatever, that still helps you accomplish something that you need to do, but gives you a mental break from your kids or your husband or school or work, like whatever it is, find a way to do that, because it's good. You're going to have late nights. You're not going to be sleeping well. You're going to be stressed. If you don't already have a routine, like find little ways that you can like make time for yourself that fill your cup. And my therapist has had me work on this and I still haven't done it, but like figuring out what fills your cup, like what self-care fills your cup. That's a huge thing. Like if you don't know that, you won't actually be able to accomplish that, but it's going to be really helpful for you during the holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, I think that's all I have too.
Sorry for the long episode, everybody.
Yeah, that was a long episode. Should we save the asking for a friend for next time?
We should, but the last thing I want to say is if anyone has any good holiday like Christmas recipes, like I would love for you to share them with me. I love a good family recipe, especially when it comes to like holiday things where it's like this is what we always make. My grandma makes this bomb ass fudge and I have tried 3 different times to make it. I cannot make this fudge to save my life, but I will try every year. And if you guys have something that's like really fun and like just wholesome, I would love to share it and we can share it with other people. I think that like sharing family recipes is super cute.
I do like that too. I really do too. But I will never share my chicken noodle soup recipe.
I don't think people, I mean, maybe your family cares, but I don't really care. I think it's like really weird and aggressive. Like it's just fucking soup, man.
I just said that to bother you because I know it bothers you.
You're not winning the fucking prize for like having the best chicken noodle soup.
I might.
And you wouldn't, because you wouldn't ever share it and then you would never be Bush's baked beans.
What?
They don't share their family recipe either.
Ew, I think baked beans are so gross.
Honestly, I love a good baked bean situation. The maple. Oh my God. My grandma used to make some with this molasses. We used to have molasses in our freezer, our fridge. It's like this big giant thing of molasses. That's what they put in it. And that shit is tar.
Sick. Oh,
that
that's
shit is
disgusting.
The tar that Britney Spears was running on in her book. I read that part today where she was running on the hot tar.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to our episode, guys. Sorry it was so long. Make sure that you're following us on all socials. Woo, have the hiccup. Sorry. Like, rate, review, share with a friend, follow us on YouTube. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.
Bye-bye, bitches.